Amen.
So, good to see you.
What's up, dude?
Dude, it's a great reason for you to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So, this is season 1, episode 1, interview 1 of the White Belt Diaries. And briefly introduce yourself.
My name's Tyler. Mike and I have known each other for 6 years, maybe?
Longer.
5, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, about 7.
Yeah. And I think we always both knew we had an interest in like mixed martial arts, and we talked about Jiu Jitsu, and you had done Jiu Jitsu many years ago, right?
A little bit. Tiny bit.
I remember we talked about that. And I remember after my first Jiu Jitsu class, I actually came up to you at work the next day. During lunch. I was like, hey, guess what?
Yeah. And I was super stoked for you, right? And then, so you're an architect. Mm-hmm. I'm a landscape architect. But when we met, you were working at a landscape architecture firm.
That's correct,
which was really cool because it was nice to see a different kind of perspective in there. And we always hit it off talking intellectually about things and stuff. And then, so you did that, but then when did you really get into jiu-jitsu? When did you get like the bug?
So my first experiences doing jiu-jitsu was at this little gym up in Los Feliz. Mm-hmm. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's not a large gym. It's not an affiliation.
Yeah.
And I was there through a class pass.
Okay.
And in the same gym, they also had CrossFit and yoga and Muay Thai. And I realized pretty quickly, jiu-jitsu is not one of those things where you can just drop in occasionally. Yeah. Like class pass is structured for you to do. If maybe that's the one successful thing about ClassPass is it can introduce you to different things for you to find something that you then get a membership for.
Maybe it was yoga that you liked, or maybe it was Muay Thai or whatever.
If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
But it's hard to maintain a consistent schedule when you only get a certain amount of credits at different gyms. You need to stay dedicated to something like that.
I can't see advancing in jiu-jitsu less than 3 times a week. Right? Like 3 times a week is about, I think, the minimum that you could get by, you could advance. Yeah. It's enough time gap. Like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's about my frequency.
Okay,
3 times a week.
And you feel
sometimes like 4. I mean, 5. Yes. Sometimes
you feel like you're advancing incrementally, or
I'll surprise myself.
Oh.
Sometimes it doesn't. I actually talked to my professor the other day, and he's just like, "Hey, how you doing after class?" And I was like, honestly, I feel like I'm plateaued.
Yeah,
I'm plateauing. Like I'm doing the same dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Haven't like submitted a couple guys, not feeling that great. And he's like, oh, well, you've been working a lot recently. I've been working out in Joshua Tree, and it only was coming like once or twice a week for like a month.
Sure.
And I noticed it. But then, it's just like sharpening a knife.
Yeah. And then what rank are you?
So I'm a white belt.
White belt. White belt, 1 stripe, 2 stripes?
3 stripes.
3 stripes, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like blue belt on the horizon, or you don't care, or you're just thinking about
Some days are different than other days, man.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one day in particular a few weeks ago, after class we were doing randori, and I just smoked a couple like fresher new belts.
Sure.
And one guy in particular, he was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of knew what I was doing and was able to submit him like 3 or 4 times in one round. And I came home feeling really, really good about myself. And then, I think it was the very next day, I rolled with another white belt who started around the same time as me. And he just dominated me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm nowhere near ready for... Because if I were to get a blue belt and then he did not, I'd be getting smoked by a white belt as a blue belt.
And you feel like would you have like a moral dilemma about that? Would it eat at you a little bit, or?
I know other people say that they never feel like they're ready for the belts they take on.
That's kind of true, right?
Everybody kind of says that. Like, I know people who've been advanced to brown belt and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm at this level.
Maybe at that point you need to trust the person that's giving it to you.
Yeah. In trusting them in both directions. If they decide not to give it to you, you got to trust them as well, and know that it's nothing personal. Yeah. But some people are just naturally more athletic.
Yeah.
Maybe if you wrestled in high school, you'd have a lot of
gymnast, breakdancer.
That's pretty common. Dancers in general.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people at our gym are like hip hop dancers. and he's just kind of naturally athletic.
Yeah.
He's, flexible.
Sure.
He has good consciousness of where his body is.
Yeah.
Weight distribution, balance.
We could even say could go so far as maybe even just like the mental aspect of it too, right? Like maybe you're not athletic, or maybe you weren't a dancer, but maybe like the concepts you grasp really fast, and maybe you just have some grit and you're just able to apply it.
I do know when people can when a good professor or a good coach can kind of explain things in almost like with a little bit of physics vocabulary.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Like,
sure.
This is where your fulcrum is.
Yeah.
The term post is very much like to deal with the physics of it.
Sure.
If you need to, triangulate where your body weight's going to be or something like that. But if they're able to abstract that information just a little bit, I feel like I can grab onto it a lot more.
Yeah.
Better than like put your leg like this, and then put your leg over here, and then just slide over a little.
Yeah.
Like, I tend to forget that.
My coach and another guy at the school, they'll go this arm, like to move this arm so that you could look at their right arm before they move. And it's like you're okay, and then it kind of makes this auditory relationship with that's the right arm, and you look. And sometimes I've noticed in class, even where I'm just sitting there, and he's doing the whole move and being so patient and doing it 3 or 4 times and blah blah. And I'm daydreaming. And then I'm like, oh snap, I should be paying attention, because in about 1 minute I'm going to be accountable to try this with my partner. And then
or sometimes I'll like zoom in, like I'm focused on, let's just say there's an action with the left hand, if they're doing a collar tie or something, and that seems to be where all the action for this takedown is going to be or whatever. I'm like focused on the left hand.
Yeah.
And I'll, they're like, when you say it one more time, okay, one more time. And I'm like, okay, the left hand's doing that. And then we'll get there. I'm like, wait, what was the right hand doing the whole time?
Yeah. Where is the right hand?
Half the body so focused on one thing.
I've also seen where, so I was doing this thing in class where, like, let's say you're the professor and you are showing somebody this, and while you're doing it, I'll like kind of mock the movements slightly. And then I saw this parody YouTube movie, not movie, but a parody YouTube clip, and they're like, ooh, white belt, like mimicking the thing. Then I got insecure about doing, I still do
ghost boxing. It's essentially ghost boxing.
I know, but you know how it is. Like, or maybe I'm just more insecure than other, but I just felt like the next day when I went to class, after I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm the guy, like, but then I was like, whatever, I need to learn, and that's what helps me learn. So.
I find it valuable to do that sometimes, especially, so at our gym at Hensler Gracie in LA, the first portion of every class, like 15 minutes or so, is judo. Yeah. And takedowns.
Like judoka or judo?
Judo.
Judoko.
I think a judo player is a judoka.
So do you, okay.
Yeah.
Is it judoka and judoko, like male, female?
I don't think so. Anyway. It would be different in Japanese anyways. Sorry, so it's always just a little bit of stand-up game, which is all judo based.
Throws?
Yeah, throws.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll spend the first 10, 15 minutes on that. And for that, especially, there's a lot of footwork involved. Like when you walk in, like do you start from an open stance or a closed stance? How is your foot position when you actually go through the motion? Yeah. And so for that, like ghost boxing or whatever, doing it by yourself, that's quite helpful.
It's important.
Yeah.
You have to, right? I mean, if you want to get good and progress.
Because I personally, I kind of laugh about this, but I've done a few judo classes at this gym as well. I always say the classes are more similar, like if you're doing dancing classes.
Oh yeah, no, like you could literally put like in the dance studios where they have those footprints floor things or whatever. Like, why not?
I mean, it's like tangoing with somebody else. Yeah. Largely.
Yeah.
So the footwork is super important, and for that, you can just kind of go back and forth. Like, okay, right foot forward, and then step across, or whatever it is.
You remember Office Space, the movie?
Yeah.
The jump to conclusions mat?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we could have like
his invention.
Yeah, like a jujitsu, like you roll out different patterns.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Seriously, though, I think you could.
Yeah.
Like just the footwork for some entry.
Sure. So maybe that's what we'll pay for this YouTube channel.
Love it.
We'll,
that's a great idea.
Have some jump to conclusion jujitsu.
Have you ever seen these flowcharts?
Yeah, you sent me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are quite helpful.
Yeah, I forgot about it, and now that we are talking about it, I'm gonna relook into it. I get back, but explain to the audience what is a jiu-jitsu flowchart.
So I found this. It's like an interactive PDF I found online, where it's basically a big spider web flowchart where you have, a 0 level position where it's maybe just like open guard or something, and then it'll show you like five or 8 different options from there, and then from within there, it'll show you the defense and the sweep for that position.
Right.
And
if you can't get this,
exactly,
go for this. If you get this, but if you can't get that, go like
exactly,
Yeah.
and it goes through, I don't know, maybe 60 different positions.
Right.
But I think the key behind that one, and I'm not there yet,
right.
But is they always say like black belts are thinking 3 moves beyond.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of like a good chess player too. They're not thinking about what they're about to do. They're already doing that and
anticipating what you could do, what you can't
exactly.
do.
They already see this, all the different Y's on the road ahead of them. And so this is kind of a graphic way to illustrate that.
Yeah.
You can see it, and then there's a little video associated with each one. It was a decent purchase.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably make more sense as you get better.
I think so.
For me too.
Yeah.
Because it's quite intimidating.
Probably at different points in your jiu-jitsu path, it'll hit you a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right? Like you read it 6 months in, you'll be like, okay. You read it a year in, you're like, oh. You read it 2 years in, and it's like, like you really get. And then maybe because that framework was designed by somebody, I'm sure there's opportunities to, like, the saying, you got to know the rules before you could break the rules.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here's one rule set that you could follow, and then maybe there's some creativity, but, well, maybe there's this option.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know if he even talks about feints.
Yeah.
Like, you feint this, if he or she doesn't fall for that, then you go there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and I think, to effectively use a feint, you have to know what the common defense for that attack would be.
Right.
So like, if I'm going for closed guard armbar, I'm gonna grab your arm here, and then I know you're gonna jerk away, and maybe there's an opportunity for a back kick or something.
But if I'm good enough, I know that you think that I think that I think that I know that you know that I know that I'm gonna do that. And so it's like this whole, like when you see like really high level, it's like so minute little things that they're trying with.
Actually, a guy pulled a really great one on me today. I was rolling with this brown belt.
Yeah.
And he swept me. So he started an armbar, and he swept me into where, like, I'm on my back in a classic armbar position, and I thought for sure he's going for an armbar.
Yeah.
And so I start turning it into it and trying to get my elbow below his hip line, and start pulling my arm. But all of a sudden I realized, like, now I'm pulling one arm out, and I'm now in he's got a reverse triangle on me. And he was setting it up the whole time. He set me up the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was right at the end of the round too. It was like right when the buzzer went. And I kind of sit there, fuck. Like,
yeah. Did he even time that? Did he play with you the whole thing and then right at the end get you? Or?
Yeah. I think good upper level belts, they
do that.
They'll kind of like just let you go flow for a little while and then just submit you at the end.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Of course.
You weren't doing that well,
what
sir.
I would do when I can. Oh, it's just to be clear, I white belt, no stripes, and doing it like 3 months, and then I've had a lot of. This is the reason why I started this channel, is to document, one, to meet and talk to interesting people.
Plenty of that
in my journey, in my path, and then to gain knowledge, to share what I learn, talk about my frustrations, talk about my successes, all of that stuff. So I hope people kind of enjoy it and like get something out of it. And it'd be interesting. It's called White Belt Diaries. And even like, let's say I get to blue belt and then brown belt, or blue, purple, right? Blue, purple, brown, black, right? So I'll probably still call it White Belt Diaries, because maybe
it's a mentality thing too.
Yeah, sure.
I saw a great video online. I think it was probably from several years ago, but it was of this really old Brazilian guy. I'm not even sure who it was, but he's a red belt.
Sure.
And they had this ceremony where he took the red belt off and put a white belt back on.
Oh, cool.
And it was really to illustrate this idea that,
That's
you
pretty
never
gangster,
stop.
right?
That's pretty gangster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go from a red
The
belt.
ears are like 18 layers of cauliflower and he's wearing white belt. You're like, yeah, like, you know.
But yeah, there's something to that where, you know, even people say, I've seen like phrases that go along with each belt, like at white belt you have no idea what's going on.
Right.
At blue belt you're pretty sure you know what's going on, and at purple belt you realize again you don't know what's going on.
No, I heard a different.
Or something
I
like
heard
this.
it was like white belt, you know nothing. Blue belt, you know everything. Right.
Yeah.
And then
you're like, I got this.
Yeah. And then purple belt, you know nothing again. Right. And then brown belt, you like know what now you need to know.
Yeah.
Or you know how to seek the knowledge that you need to know. And then black belt, I think it goes back to you know nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's something like this, but it's very like.
It's very romantic.
It's a circle.
Yeah.
You know, something else I was going to mention to you about doing this podcast is so much of jiu-jitsu is the culture surrounding it.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I think people like being involved in something.
Yeah.
You know, for me, what drew me to it is I thought it was a good way to meet interesting people.
Yep. And there's no shortage of interesting people that do jiu-jitsu.
And you have a lot of common interests in your own lives then, and it makes for easy friends, generally. And then, it's just, you know, staying physically fit, having something interesting to talk about with your friends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of practical reasons for it,
Sure.
you know, just self-defense reasons.
Yeah. But can we talk about there's two things that I want to touch on that. One is I want to talk about the camaraderie of it and trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to have an immense amount of trust rolling with somebody. Trust that, like, when you tap, they're going to let go and vice versa, right? And so, like, it builds this, like, you can't roll with people that aren't cool. Like, there has to be that. And then also, like, I like you, like, you're smart, we've always gotten along, but I don't know if I would be here if you weren't doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's very true.
So I'm traveling right now for my other podcast, right? And so I'm here in town in LA, and it was like, oh, let's connect with Tyler because I know he's all into jiu-jitsu now and I'm all into jiu-jitsu now. So now we have this thing in common, and maybe we would have gotten coffee or something, but now we're like,
we got something to do together.
Yeah, tomorrow we're gonna go roll.
Yeah.
And like we wanted to do the podcast after the roll, but my schedule is really tight. So if you guys see a post podcast interview, that means I had enough time and we could talk about that.
Yeah.
But if not, we'll just kind of, this conversation will be like leading up to like that anticipation.
Sure.
What do you think it's going to be like? I think it's going to be really
I have
cool.
no idea, man.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have a feeling you're gonna play slow and heavy.
I suck, bro.
So do I. I hope to just.
I don't even like do it to be modest. Like, oh, I suck, and then like, oh wow, you're like, no, I genuinely, I'm like pretty, but I get submitted
most of the time.
I'm really cool with that. I mean, okay, sometimes I'm not. Like a couple weeks ago, I was borderline crying in the studio, and I had to hold in an actual like real cry. And I was like really frustrated, and like I started hyperventilating, and like I was about to throw up, and like the coach was like, go off the mat, like, go to the trash can, and I just was overwhelmed, right? And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then a guy, shout out to Jason, what's up if you're watching, nobody said anything, kind of, everyone's like, let him. Obviously he's going through something, and then the coach was like, he's like, breathe, right? I'm sure everybody that does jiu-jitsu hears breathe, breathe, right? And then Jason kind of like made it a point to walk by me, and he's like, I've cried in class before. And I was like, thank you for saying that. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a badass. He's, he's good, he's helpful, he's somebody I respect. So for him to stop and say, he didn't have to say that.
People are very respectful to each other. Very
respectful, yeah.
Because people are in there for all different reasons. Like, you don't know if some guy's in there because, there's a guy that maybe had been suffering through bullying for most of his life. and he's finally got the confidence to come in here and teach himself something.
Not an uncommon motivator for jiu-jitsu.
I mean, sometimes you see like kind of a skinny-looking nerd, like a young-looking guy, and you're like, he could be, he could have suffered from bullying, or he could be training to be an MMA fighter.
Who knows?
You have no idea.
And Eddie Bravo talks about those guys a lot. Like, those dudes become killers.
Yeah.
Like, dudes that are really cerebral and smart and nerdy, and then just unassuming, and then you're just like, oh, okay. And then you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Where did this dude come from,
But I think that's where a lot of that trust and camaraderie comes from, too, is because you don't know anything about anybody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kind of goes to a lot of things. Like, you don't know who that guy is walking down the street from you, just because you can't assume anything about anybody. Yeah. And that gives you a lot more respect for the people around you.
Yeah.
You don't assume anything about anybody.
My strategy is, well, first of all, I should probably give a shout out to my school, the one that I go to. It's Gracie Baja in Sandy, Utah. Shout out if any of you guys are watching. I love it. It's very family orientated. Everyone's really cool. But I think I've rolled with pretty much everybody up to at this point now, and everyone's been super cool. But if there's somebody that I don't know, I might be a little bit like scared or apprehensive of, because maybe they're like really built or something, like I'm always like this. I'm like, hey, is it cool if we go light?
Yeah.
And they're like, cool. Like, no one's ever been like, nah. I want somebody, they're always like, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go light, and then you could, how it is, you could, especially if somebody's more advanced, like what you give them, they'll give back.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
I've been like told that exact same thing. It's like if you start going hard, I'll start going hard.
What's that called? The white belt energy.
Yeah, frantic.
Like, you hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, spazzy.
Yeah, white belt energy is like it's a thing. But I think that, so I'm 46. I started at 45. I turned 46 within this 3 months that I've been doing it. So I don't think I had much of that. I think because I've already kind of mellowed out.
Yeah.
And also, I'm the sole provider in our house, and I can't get hurt. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it would really suck if I did get hurt, so I have to.
But also, your son's doing this with you, so you've got to be a role model.
Yeah, we should talk about that too. Yeah. But so that white belt energy, and I even asked somebody one time, I'm like, am I giving off crazy white belt energy? And they're like, no, dude, you're fine. Like, you're all right. If anything, I should probably be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like I'm a little under aggressive, but I'm cool with that. I'd rather take my time. Like I said, my goal is like 10 years, and then I'll reevaluate. So instead of being like, my goal being like, oh, I want a blue belt.
Yeah.
My goal is
jiu-jitsu for 10 years.
For 10 years, a consistent 10. Wherever I end up, maybe I'll get my first white belt stripe, and then at 10 years, maybe I'll be purple. Maybe, who knows? I don't care.
You know what's very funny, which I think is a bit deceiving for people who are, if you're really seeking a new belt, is the skill level you gain over that 10 years is a spectrum, is a continuous spectrum.
Okay.
It's not like the day you get a blue belt or a purple belt, it's not like all of a sudden you come in tomorrow and your skill level jumped up a lot.
Right.
But it's perceived as like chapters in a book.
Yeah.
Even though it's all just a continuous thing.
Yeah.
And so, if you're seeking these chapters, you're not seeking this continual skill level improvement. Really, you're looking at different things.
I'm gonna check my camera, make sure we're good. We are good. Yeah, it is a trip. Can we? Since we're both white belts, it's a perfect topic to talk about. Like, and I've talked to other white belts about this, and it's like everyone's like, "Well, I don't care when I get my blue belt, but I care when I get my blue belt."
Yeah, that's me.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you kind of like have this dialogue, like, I don't care, I'm just doing it for the thing. But in the back of your head, like, fuck, it'd be pretty nice to get that. And then also, like, the whole head trip of, like, am I worthy? And then I also worry about, well, what if I get my blue belt, and what if I go to another school and, like, and they're just killers? Or like, how do we stack up, right? Because I don't have a litmus test. Is that what you would call it? I don't know if that's the right analogy. Okay, so I don't have like something to gauge on, but I know that we have some like killers at our school, so I feel like, but that's all a head trip too. And then maybe when you get to black belt, you don't care about that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have no idea. Cause
I know what you mean about caring and then also telling yourself you don't care.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way as you. Like I kind of made an agreement with myself that I'm doing this sport, this activity as a long-term thing.
Yeah.
I had a gym membership and I had a hard time running on a treadmill by myself. Or like
right.
Just like trying to go lift some weights by myself and having no real motivation. There's not like a reason for it other than like health and vanity.
Sure.
But it's like I needed a medium in which to stay active. And so I said, this is gonna be something I do kind of, if not for the rest of my life, as long as I can.
Yeah.
And so I'm not chasing belts. At least I tell myself that.
But you are.
Sure, I mean...
And that's okay to be, right?
Well,
it's totally fine to be like, I'm not, but I kind of am a little bit, like...
So at my first gym, I was at Gracie Baja in downtown LA with Orlando Sanchez, if you know who that is.
I don't, but...
ADCC champion.
Sure.
He's a beast of a guy.
Okay.
Like 5'9" and 320 pounds.
Oh, nice.
He's huge.
Yeah, that's like my worst nightmare.
Well known in the
short,
no-gi world.
Like...
I think he only competes at ADCC.
Okay.
He's well known in the no-gi world. But so there was a whole bunch of people that joined right around the same time as me, and a few maybe like 6 months before me. Right before COVID hit, they did a belt ceremony, and a bunch of people got their blue belts.
Yeah.
There's some people I was like pretty close on par with.
Yeah, sure.
Like maybe they beat me, but not every time.
Yeah.
And so they all got their blue belts, and so at the time I was like, a couple more months, I'll probably, maybe like 3 months or so, I'll get a blue belt too. 6 months or something. Well, COVID hit, I took like 6 months off, and then I switched gyms. And I came to this new gym, and I felt like dog shit compared to all these people.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, if I had gotten my blue belt, and I walked in here with a blue belt, and like I can't even do my arm bars properly, my triangles suck, like I'm, basic defenses are a little iffy, I wouldn't have felt like I deserved that blue belt.
Yeah.
So now I'm happy.
Yeah, you could like ride that for a little while, like, and just be like, I'm good, like.
I don't want to be sandbagging anybody.
Not sorry, sandbag's the wrong word. But I mean,
I'd rather be a tough white belt than a shitty blue belt.
That's a good thing. I would rather be a tough white belt than a shitty blue belt. And then when you be a blue belt, I'd rather be a tough blue belt than what's the order again? Purple, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, and I agree. But before you said that, in my mind, I was thinking, I just want to be really competent, right? And then someone at the gym was like, I could see you being very technical, because I'm not aggressive. I'm not. I think it has to do with past like traumas and childhood shit, wherever, where I have a difficult time just being really aggressive. So I always am reserved. So if I'm not going to be aggressive, right, and I don't think I'm the most naturally athletic, and I'm not trying to like be self-deprecating, I'm just trying to like have an honest analysis so I could know what my strategy is to move forward. Because I could lie to myself and be like, oh, I'm aggressive, but if it's not true, then I'm not going to progress.
Well, in terms of athleticism, you're talking about at a jiu-jitsu gym versus the general population.
That's true.
You're probably pretty athletic.
Yeah.
In general.
Right.
But within the confines of a jiu-jitsu gym, you have some freaks.
Yeah, there's some So in that case, like what some of my strategies are is like I want to focus on drills. Thank you. I want to focus on drills because my friend was a wrestler, and he said his coach used to always say, drillers are killers.
Oh, I've heard the same phrase. Drills make killers.
Yeah.
Drillers are make killers or something like that.
And I and when I was in the military, we had a different saying. Cheers, by the way.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we had a different saying that was like, you do as you train. So we'd always train, 9mm or this or fire thing or whatever. And then all of a sudden, when it really happened, you were on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
Like Bruce Lee talked about that and all this stuff like that. So my strategy is, okay, if I'm not the most naturally athletic and I'm not the most aggressive, then I have to be cerebral and technical.
Yeah.
Right? And so I kind of slacked up on it, which I feel bad, but I'm going to pick it back up, and that's going to be like right after class. I have this journal.
That's a wise thing to do. I've never done it myself, but I've heard of it.
And I'll show some images of that or whatever. And honestly, like as an architect, like diagrams and things like that, it really solidifies my thought. Because then I go back to it and I'm
like, it's fresh in your head still too.
Right. And then you ever heard the phrase, writing crystallizes thought?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it in Jiu Jitsu as well?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah. If you really want something, you write it down.
Right. And Jiu Jitsu is so cerebral.
Yeah. We were talking about flowcharts. I could almost see, like after a roll, kind of writing the flowchart of what you just did.
Yeah.
Like what was the sequence?
Ooh, that would be cool.
That you just did, and then you could identify specifically where you failed.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so
you mean the numerous times you failed?
Yeah. But like you could say like, I thought I had a triangle locked on pretty well, and then he stacked me and was able to leg drag me and take side control. Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And say, okay, so this transition right here is where I need to focus.
Yeah. I think video is good. I had somebody film me, and I was with a really advanced white belt. So he was just playing with me, kind of, and that's fine. You know what I mean? And I am really bad at T-Rex arms. I always put my arms out, and people just snatch them all day long. I'm getting better, though. I'm like, T-Rex
elbows
arms.
in.
Yeah, elbows. In my head, I just say T-Rex arms, and I come in. But during that particular roll, they were really out. And it was funny. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, can I post this on Instagram? And he's like, yeah, no problem. Because you don't want to, like, think what happens in the gym is very sacred, right?
Sure.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, you have to respect that, right? Especially when you start dealing with taps and stuff. Like, you don't want to be like, I tapped this fool. Which I would never do.
You don't want to blast people on the internet.
Yeah.
If you post anybody's picture online, you should
probably ask. But especially like gym culture and stuff like that. So anyway,
so people are in vulnerable positions.
Yeah. I was if anything, he looked good. Like I was the one that looked bad, but I was still being respectful, and like I want to carry that on.
Yeah.
I hope to record more. Anyway, long story short, it was funny. One of my friends, who's a landscape architect, he wasn't a D1 wrestler. He was the equivalent of a D1 wrestler. There's a different, I forgot what it was. But let's just say he was a D1 wrestler.
Okay.
He's a badass.
Like a NCAA.
Yes.
Okay,
he's like badass. And he looks like Clark Kent. And he's like strong. And like he's
I hate those fuckers, man.
He's just all around like badass. And he's my friend, and he saw it on Instagram, and he was like, it was funny because he was like watching on his phone, and he was all, get your hands, and he texts me, and he's like, I was yelling at the phone, and it already had happened. Right? But he knows what he's seeing, and he's like, get your hand,
Some basic technique stuff here.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? You're just giving it. So I thought it was pretty funny, and like that community is really strong where, you get to watch other people do things and stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah. The drilling has been really good for me too. Like it'd been maybe 6 months since we'd gone over armbars from guard.
Yeah.
And there's like details I forget. And so last month, so we have a month-long curriculum. Yeah. Which I think is great. Do you guys do something similar?
We have a really nice curriculum that I like.
I appreciate that. So we go over one standing throw, like a judo throw, and then we'll go over maybe like an offensive position and then a defensive position, or sometimes it's a more complex array of defensive positions, and then they all build on each other. And the idea is that you can put together a sequence at the end of the month. Maybe even grabbing bits of what you did last month, and then all of a sudden you can do like maybe a 3 or 4 part flow. And so part of it was armbar defenses, and we're just going through and drilling these arm bars, and I feel a lot better about them now.
Because you drilled.
Because the first time we went over them, I sucked at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm barely getting this, and I don't feel very good about it.
And your opponent is giving it to you. And you
Usually,
still,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you're drilling.
Hopefully you have a good uke.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they
should be.
Yeah. And then when that's even hard, when someone's giving you their arm and you still can't, it's like.
For some reason, like, I was having this really hard time with getting the first part of an armbar.
Yeah.
And especially in the gi, and this other guy was just like, he's like, hey, relax.
Yeah.
Why isn't this working? I can't get up high enough. I feel like I'm getting stacked as soon as I go up. And then I went with this purple belt, and he's like, do it like this. And he showed me this little detail. And I was like, my hips just naturally come up. I was like, wow, I didn't use any strength here.
Yeah.
And that would only come through drilling.
Yeah.
And drilling with somebody who's going to show you what they're doing too.
Have you ever drilled with a dummy?
No, I never have.
Yeah, my friend Kiova.
Not a dummy, but like my wife. I'm like, not literally a dummy, but like I'm like, can I try something?
Yeah.
Nowadays she says no. But for a short time she was like, okay.
Let's see what this is about. Kind of now. She's like,
and now she's like,
All those cool COVID memes that came out, like all these jiu-jitsu practitioners that couldn't practice.
Oh my god.
Their like wives are doing dishes and they're like, it's
like, so true.
Please wait for I can't wait for COVID to stop so you're not choking me out anymore.
Like, yeah, my wife was just like, I can't have a normal cuddle anymore. Like all of a sudden it becomes a body lock every time.
Dude, I was telling my friend like
it's drilling. You can tell her you're drilling.
A month into it, I hugged my wife and I was gable grip, And I was like, and I didn't even think about it, right? And then like and I was talking to somebody else at my gym and they were like is it even a hug if they're not trying to like choke you out? It's like you get desensitized. You need some more. You need a little bit of.
It's so true though. Like anytime anybody makes contact with me now, it just like sets some programming into motion. And I'm gable grip or something. That's hilarious.
What was interesting was, so I just did a swim in the ocean, and when I did it 2 years ago, so you start at a point, you all run. And you all kind of jockey for position in the water. And 2 years ago when I did it, I was like, I don't want to be in that mix of people. That's a lot of bodies, kicks, arms, flailing.
Yeah,
right?
Sounds like a good way to get a bloody nose. First thing in the race.
Yeah, you could get kicked. Somebody died somewhere in one race.
Just getting kicked in the face?
Yeah, getting kicked in the face. But that's an anomaly. I don't want to make it so. Anyway, the point.
Swimming is very dangerous. Lethal.
I mean, no, it's not. But what I wanted to say was I was really scared 2 years ago when I did the race, and this year, actually a couple days ago, Sunday, when I did it, I wasn't, because I'm so used to being in such close contact and impact with people that like I was like, no, I'm gonna be fine. Like, you know what I mean? I see a leg, I'm just gonna like whatever. And I thought that was really cool because I had the utmost confidence of going right in the pack. Yeah. And that was cool.
Yeah, confidence and just being able to stay cool under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think it's famous for people talking about how that kind of transcends the gym and affects you in your personal life too.
Yeah.
Where like heated things are going on, high stress, your cortisol levels are through the roof, or normal people would be. And in jiu-jitsu guys are kind of like, it's not nearly as bad as what happened a couple hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. With like some 120-pound person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like people are screaming at you in traffic on the highway, and you're like, have you ever been go-go plotted by a 110-pound girl?
Yeah.
It's worse than this.
Yeah. So
you're mad about not getting on the highway.
Definitely, there is something about that.
That's part of the reason why I joined was, like, I actually sought out. So I was a college athlete.
Yeah.
I swam through college.
Nice.
And so being in athletics, team sports, but also individual sports was always part of my life. Swimming is known for that. It's an individual sport, but also with your team. And so after college, I went years with nothing.
Yeah.
Like kind of hopping in and out of gyms, just trying to stay in shape.
Sure.
But I was like, I need something. And it's like, let's get all the things I want here in life. Let's try and kill 3 birds with 1 stone, more or less. So I was like, let's do something that's, going to keep me physically active. I'm going to meet cool people.
Check.
And maybe it'll make you a better person overall.
Check. And
And you can protect your family.
That's what I was gonna say. Almost like the most like desirable trait out of all of them. Well, I don't think there's a hierarchy because they're all pretty dope, but to be able to protect your families.
Well, that was the impetus for me joining.
Yeah.
To be honest, was I got assaulted in downtown.
Oh,
Do you remember this? I don't know if you were working there anymore.
No, what happened?
When we were
backtrack a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
So backtrack a little bit just to give you guys a little bit of context. We worked at, one of the highest end design firms in landscape architecture.
Like globally renowned.
Globally renowned, really high pressure. Right? At times it could be like he's an architect, but he was acting as a landscape architect.
Yeah.
I'm a traditional path of a landscape architect. Big deadlines, work in Dubai, China, Serbia, LA, really high profile.
Those projects are some of the biggest construction projects on the planet.
Yeah. And the you were expected to provide your A game a lot, all the time.
There was high expectations.
There was high expectations. Sure. So we were under this level of like you perform,
mm-hmm.
And I've been to other studios since then, and I promise you, it's nowhere near as high as
that. Was about as stressful as an office I've ever been in.
So within that context, that's how we knew each other, and like we kind of that was a camaraderie in itself, right?
For sure.
We had to go through that, and then. We were right in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, which is at, 7th and
Fig.
And Fig.
Yeah.
And so that's the context.
So there's some rough parts of downtown LA, as everybody knows. And I was living in downtown LA as well. And I was just walking to work one morning.
You were on 7th, farther down.
I was on 6th and Main.
6th and Main, okay.
So I had about a 15, 20-minute walk to work every day, which under typical circumstances, that's amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Walking commute. However, downtown LA isn't the best of walks.
Yeah.
And one morning it was 8:45 in the morning, and I made the mistake of having my cell phone out and looking at my phone.
You should have known better.
And as soon as I stepped out of my building, some homeless guy just jumped out of behind a planter and punched me in the back of the head.
No.
Yeah. And he didn't hurt me, but he startled me.
Yeah.
And the thought that went through my head was like, he was completely out of his mind.
Sure.
He was screaming about all sorts of crazy conspiracies and stuff.
Sure.
And
maybe he was an Eddie Bravo student.
he could have just as easily had a knife or a weapon in his hand, and could have done the exact same thing. And I was like, my wife walks out of the same door all the time. He didn't have a personal thing against me.
Right.
He was going against movement.
Right.
It could have been literally the next dog that walked past him. He might have attacked. And I remember feeling like, I don't really know how to physically handle myself.
Right.
And this could have been my wife.
Yeah.
And there was multiple instances where like, we're walking through downtown LA after dinner, it's 10 p.m. and some guys shouting lewd things at my wife, which has happened.
Yeah, sure.
And, we've done, anybody should. You should ignore it to the best of your ability. You don't run up and start an altercation.
Right.
But somebody who's being that aggressive,
who knows when it's going to pop off? Yeah.
What is my strategy going to be? Like,
shield,
you run.
I'll
put 5 seconds in between you guys, and then I'll run.
Also, your decision making is going to be inhibited. There's so many different elements that are going to go off. And let me just add this to it. Your reaction, whether it's fear or confidence, is then going to dictate the aggressor's action. So if he's super aggressive or she's super aggressive on drugs or something or whatever, and you're like, hey, it's cool, chill out, we're just going to keep walking. Yeah. They might be like, all right.
You could exude confidence.
If you shell up and panic, what is it? There's a saying for that. Fear draws aggression.
Yeah. It's kind of like the concept of with what do fish go for? They go for a little movement, something that looks like they're struggling.
Interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Think about animal calls with hunting.
Sure.
Like dying rabbits is like a call for coyotes.
Oh, jeez.
My dad hunts coyotes.
So don't be a dying rabbit.
It works. Concept is true in the rest of the animal kingdom.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I just remember thinking, I didn't get hurt. And I remember the police showed up and were like, do you want to press charges against this guy? And I was like, What, you want me to go to court later?
Yeah,
I feel like I've wasted enough time with this whole thing already. So I didn't press charges. It didn't seem like the right thing to do.
But now you're tripping out.
Yeah.
Because now you're carrying that with you, and now you...
So I'm thinking about this months later.
That's what I was going to say.
Months.
How long from that incident till some type of action?
Honestly, maybe a year.
Wow.
And I looked up jiu-jitsu gyms. I knew I was looking at a few, and I kind of was doing some reading about it. And I'd say a few months before I like decided, okay, I'm walking in the front door.
Yeah. What was your... So year's a long time. And I don't know, between that year and when you started looking at jiu-jitsu and the execution of when jiu-jitsu became the path, like, what did it finally take to like get through the door? Like,
part of it was Gracie Baja opened up a location right next to me.
So
right next to my office.
Convenience. So you couldn't...
The convenience factor
you couldn't,
was a huge thing.
Also, it's just staring at you, right?
Yeah. It was like literally a 6-minute bike ride from my office.
Sure.
And I think class started at like 6:30.
No
I was
excuse.
like, I have zero excuses.
Yeah.
I could be doing this 5 days a week.
Like, the world is like...
It's telling me.
Yeah.
And I'd mapped out other ones before too. And I'm like, man, I can't make it to this class.
Sure.
I was pretty good at finding reasons.
Of course. Yeah. It's pretty easy to do if you want
but
to.
You know, 10th Planet headquarters is just down the street from our old office. On like Grand and Olympic or something. So that was another one, like, I could have been going there for years.
Yeah.
And it was so close to my office.
Sure.
I just never did. But yeah, it took me a while. I had to find something that worked with my schedule.
Yeah.
But since then, aside from COVID, I mean, it's been, a few times a week, every week.
And then after you got in, were you like not fully in or whatever? Or once it was you're in, then you were
the day I walked in the front door, I remember the professor asked me, he's like, do you want to just do a trial? Like, we can do a trial for a week if you want, or do you want to sign up? And I was like, I'm signing up.
Dude, you want to hear something funny? Is that's the same thing that happened to me.
It's
and
like,
I keep
I'm not here to test the waters. I'm here because I want to do this.
Yeah. Can I share my story?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, what is that? Or did we...
Yeah, we could always come back to... that's pretty much it.
So, all right. So my story with my jiu-jitsu path and why I'm doing it is... So, after art school, I stayed in Las Vegas, and I kind of became a little bit stagnant. I didn't have some kind of direction. So this was... I guess 2005. It's 2021 as of this recording. And I got my degree and I was a practicing artist and I was doing well. But I didn't have another goal, right? And I started kind of falling out of shape and getting a little bit depressed. And right next to where I worked, there was JSECT Academy. Now it's the Fight Capital Academy, but it's one of the most OG MMA gyms around, because it was in Las Vegas, and there's a long lineage of famous MMA fighters that it was John Lewis's school, Skipper Kelp, sorry. Let's see, the who's who of the early MMA guys.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was at the bar eating lunch, and this dude with these gnarly ears was sitting there, and I was like, oh, he's gotta train, and I just went up to him and I was like, hey, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. I'm I want to get back into something. And he's like, oh, actually, I'm an instructor at that school right there. And I was like, okay, sweet. And he's like, come through. And so I came through, and he was a jiu-jitsu guy, and upstairs was jiu-jitsu and downstairs was boxing.
Okay.
And stand-up. And I would go upstairs and do some jiu-jitsu, and I hated it. I did not like it, and the only reason why I did it is because I knew that it was important. Right? Because it's already been proven. No one even debates anymore that you need a ground game, right?
Yeah.
There's not one person who's like, no, fuck that. You don't need a ground game. You need a ground game. So that was the only reason I was doing it, but I would always just stay downstairs, right? Because I like to stand up. I felt more comfortable and blah, blah, blah. And so like I think I didn't excel, but I put more hours into that, so I was obviously better, right? And then I kind of moved on from there, went to grad school, did different things. And fast forward, I have at the time, 8-year-old son. He's 9 now. And I was adamant that he needed to learn a self-defense.
Yeah.
And I really wanted him to learn Jiu Jitsu. That was really
makes total sense for a kid.
Really important for me. So when we were in LA, we recently moved to Salt Lake. But when we were in LA, like I took him to Verdum's school on Lincoln. I took him to Kron's, Gracie, and Playa, which I really liked, like both of them. And he was really young, and then we moved on, and we ended up in Salt Lake. So we are looking at schools, and we did one school, and I liked it, and it was kind of cool, but I didn't really get the vibe for it. For him. I'm not even talking about for me.
Yeah.
This is all just like vetting for him. Then we end up, my wife on her own takes her to Gracie Baja, and she texts me. She's like, "Babe, this is the school."
Found
it.
Like,
sweet, cool. But I was like, "Can I still vet it?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like you're the dad. Like you should also be part of this conversation." So I get there right away. 5 minutes. I'm like, "This is the school."
Nice.
Like all the instructors were cool. All the kids were having fun. The mats were clean. Like everything was rad. And I was like, "Oh yeah, babe, like
nice.
100%, this is it." And then I'm sitting there watching, and he's rolling and rolling. I was like, "Dude, I want to fucking roll." Like,
yeah.
I don't know why.
So he was before you.
He was before me by a couple days.
Okay.
But something switched in my head, and I was like, "No, I want this." And maybe it's seeing him and just like, I want to do this with him. I have no idea. I'm still trying to like figure out in my head how to articulate it. But I honestly don't even care if I could articulate it. All I care about is like something switched, and I was like, I want to roll. And I went up to the professor, and I was like, I think we already said, like, let's commit him.
Yeah.
You know? And then I was like, I want to commit to him. He's like, okay, sweet. We'll give you a 7-day free trial. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't need it. And he's like, are you sure? Because it's like, you don't have to pick, and you can want to try it. And I was like, I don't need it. He was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I just signed the waivers and did the thing. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, but I know that I wanted to do something that I didn't know what I was doing, right? And then I just signed the thing, and I haven't looked back since, and I don't regret it. I just signed the 6-month thing, and
that's awesome.
You know, I'm prior military, so I got like the discount and
right on,
like a gi and stuff. And
that's great that they do that.
Well, he's a veteran.
Okay.
So he was a Marine, and I don't know if all Gracie Baja do that, and what's, you know, because it's a franchise, right?
There's been multiple vets in all of my gyms.
I mean, it goes hand in hand.
There's because I know there's numerous vets at Henzo Gracie here.
Yeah.
And there's numerous vets at Gracie Baja too.
Yeah. And I think for me, being a vet, like the work that I did was really hard, and there was a lot of trust with the people that I work with, like literally life-saving events that you have to have complete trust in. And then when you get out, you don't have that camaraderie in art school.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's like it's a really kind of special type bond.
Yeah.
And like in art school, you don't. Like,
Sebastian Younger talks about this.
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
He's a
what does he say?
Author. He had this book called Tribe.
Okay.
And so he was a war journalist.
Okay.
And he talked about exactly this. I think he was in Somalia or something.
Yeah.
And he talked about this camaraderie that people, and that's why there's a lot of loneliness for people.
Right. Once
you
they
lose
get
your
out.
brothers, and why some people are like, I want to go back for a third tour. It's like, what, you like getting shot at? No, you miss your family.
Also, I have a
going through
theory
hardship.
that it's soldiers kill not to maim the enemy, but to protect the peers that they're with.
Oh, interesting.
Right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to get you because you're the enemy, but I'm going to attack because I want to protect this guy to the left of me or this girl to the right of
That's
me.
An interesting
That's just my
perspective shift.
Theory. But that's how I felt when we were...
When you go through hardship with people, whatever that is, because architecture school is notoriously difficult too.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of long hours, late nights, and then all for the professor to come in and make fun of you. Sure. That happened a lot, and so I think architects tend to hang out with other architects.
Actors hang out with other actors.
Yeah, it's true. All professions, I guess.
But there is, yes, and I don't want to be contradict what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Yes, all professions do, but I think there's some particularly higher clusters.
Yeah.
Right? So probably some accountants could hang out versatile.
Probably
need to, so they're not.
But with specific niche interests too.
Yeah.
So many times conversations they will go into something very small about design, and unless you know. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're kind of out of the conversation.
Yeah. Right before I came here, on my drive from Salt Lake to LA, for the Landscape Architecture podcast, I interviewed a former professional boxer that is now a landscape architect.
How interesting.
Really cool. Maybe that could even be a crossover episode.
Sure, yeah. So
he did 67 amateur fights and 6 professional fights.
Damn.
And how many architects do you know that were boxers or wrestlers?
Not many athletes.
That's a cerebral, nerdy.
Yeah, a lot of. But you get
cool,
your cerebral, nerdy types, and then you get your art students.
Artsy, yeah, both.
But neither of them were athletes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, actually, this is funny you say that. I've tried so many coworkers to come to Jiu Jitsu with me.
Can we talk about that?
That is difficult.
So, I'll ask you what your thoughts are on bringing new people, and then I've already have some preconceived ideas that I've rehearsed in my head of what it means to bring people to school. So what are your thoughts on that?
I got one coworker to come with me one time, and he did not enjoy himself.
No.
I think we were going over cross collar chokes.
What's wrong with you? Oh yeah. Nobody likes those.
And he's just and then he's like, okay, we're done. And I'm like, no, I get another one.
Yeah.
I've asked probably a dozen.
We could pause if you need to.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I've asked maybe a dozen friends.
Yeah.
And people who are really into yoga.
Yeah.
People who are really into rock climbing.
Yeah.
Not couch potato types. People who are play tennis.
Yeah.
They're into running. I was and then people who have inquired about it. Because I think most of my friends now know that this is something I'm doing.
Right.
And so I get asked about it frequently.
Yeah, because it's a curiosity. It's a lot
of people are curious.
Yeah.
And I'm always
do they make stupid jokes sometimes too? Don't joke me out.
Oh God! I have one friend. We were out, and I think he said, "So, what are you trying to be an MMA fighter now?"
Yeah.
He's like, "So when are you gonna start your UFC career?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dude,
it's really annoying.
I will choke you out."
Yeah.
No, but it was just dude, you're being a dick.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you're being a little condescending.
Right. Yeah. It is a little bit condescending.
Yeah.
They should be cool about it. They should be like, oh, that's something you're passionate about. You know what I mean? That's rad. If there was a swimmer, you wouldn't be like, so when are you going to go to Olympics?
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah, if you do anything else, people aren't going to be like, so when are you going to the elite levels of this sport that you're trying? Right.
But I do think it has to do with people's insecurity about the idea of physical combat or physical, the idea of this is a fight situation, that they don't know how to cerebrally wrap their head around that. And so some people will make jokes, some people will be inquisitive, some people don't give a fuck,
But most people, unless you've seen a jiu-jitsu gym, unless you've been inside of one, because even if you're watching UFC or even professional jiu-jitsu matches on TV, to be inside of a gym is totally different, because you see all these guys like one guy chokes the other guy out, and they'll stop for a minute and go, man, how did you do that? Okay, right. Let's go through this. There's a lot of relationships being built, and people are actually really nice to each other in the
They
mats.
don't understand the culture.
Yeah. And how, it's not 30 bar fights going on the mats at the same time.
Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I think that's what other people are imagining, is that they think there's a bunch of, no holds barred fights going on.
Yeah.
And, it's basically 1 degree away from a bar fight.
Sure.
I think that's what some people are imagining. But Yeah, getting people to come check it out is few and far between.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts. I asked 0 people.
Yeah.
I could give a fuck less. And the reason why is okay, so you know that I'm ambitious with a lot of different things.
This is true.
Okay. And so I feel insecure saying that because it seems like a weird, like, small flex or whatever. But
it's one of the qualities I admire in you.
Thank you.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And when I talk about you to other people,
Sure.
like to my wife or whatever, I always say he's very ambitious.
Yeah. So, okay, let's move on fast because I'm already like weird about it.
Yeah.
But it is a reality, right? Like,
Okay.
so I'm a bit ambitious, and I've done a lot of things that have been accomplished because of that ambitiousness. Along that path, right? Like maybe about 20 years now of conceiving of an ambitious project and executing it and completing it, right? I've done numerous ones, right? So, like, before it was in art or it was this or that, whatever, right? And I've had about like 15 years of continually trying to pull people in to things that I'm interested in, and continually failing, right? Because I'm always like, dude, this
Come
is
to this
rad.
art
Like,
opening.
yeah, exactly. And continually failing until I finally reached the point where I understood it's about not pulling people in, but attracting the people that are already interested. And that literally took me 15 years.
I can totally see
to
that.
figure it out. And it's a really hard thing because it's almost heartbreaking, right? Like some of your best friends and like the people that you care about the most, you're like, I would love for you to see something that I put a year into producing and blah, blah, blah. And they just won't do it. And I would have resentment for them and so on and so forth. And now, because I've done it so many times, I realize, oh, you know what? Like, I've come to such a comfortable place. Like, it's just not their thing. No worries at all. Now, if it was me 20 years ago when I got into jiu-jitsu, I would be like, dude, you gotta check this out. You'd be like the annoying CrossFit guy, you know? Like, that's like kind of like a meme. Like, oh, you CrossFit? Okay, now you're gonna fucking chew my ear off about it.
Yeah.
I think some jiu-jitsu people do that too because
100%.
they're so stoked on it and it's passionate and I love it and I think that's really cool.
I've probably been guilty of it myself.
So what? But for me, I have 0 of that anymore because I've already come to a place in my life where it's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Now, if you make the mistake about asking me about it at a party, I might chew your fucking ear off.
Corner you.
Yeah. And then they're like, get this dude away from me. I don't care. Like, why is he like spitting all this jiu-jitsu stuff? I'll be like, you asked. But other than that, it's just like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I think for me, it's just such a practical thing.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before, it just checks all these boxes. And it's like, if you don't have a whole lot going on, maybe you need to make some better friends. Maybe you need you're one of those people say, I've been trying to get back in the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you should try this.
Yeah. Can I tell you something about that? So I was having trouble getting into shape, right? And I was a little bit scared about going back into the jiu-jitsu gym out of shape. I was really out of shape. And this is the classic excuse people say. When I get in better shape, I'll go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's the classic one.
Yeah.
So this is called White Belt Diaries. So I'm assuming a lot of people that are interested about jiu-jitsu or have just started and have some kind of things might be listening to this. Hopefully some advanced people too. I love you too. Come join us. But I think that there's nothing more motivating in getting in shape than going into jiu-jitsu gym and having knee on belly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when that started happening, bro, when I started swimming harder. I'm not running yet, but I will when I come back off this trip. I'm going to start running. That's going to be my next thing. And I'm just going to cardio beast because those of you who know what knee on belly is, you don't need no further explanation. Those of you who don't, it's a knee on your belly, and it could be anywhere from 120-pound person to 250-pound person, and it really fucking sucks.
Yeah. It's a tough position.
It's a tough position. And it's transitional, right? No one just kicks it knee on belly.
It'd be hard to, but man, it is uncomfortable if you're on the bottom.
And that's a good motivator. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't have to be in shape to go. And also rolling gets you in shape.
Big time. It's huge cardio.
Huge cardio. And muscle. Like we do push-ups, we do squats,
That and rash guards are not forgiving. I actually noticed I have one rash guard that's like kind of tight in particular. I was wearing it today. Yeah. And I just kind of looked at myself. Yeah. I need to go for a run.
my first couple weeks until I started shedding some. I mean, I'm still whatever, but it was like to here, literally like a midriff. Like it was popping up.
I know that guy at the gym.
And I was like, fuck it. But you know what? Everyone was so cool. And then I think I made a comment once, and then the professor was like, how much did you lose? And he points to somebody and they're like, 35 pounds. And how much? And they're like, it'll shed. Just give it some time.
So, funny coincidence. The two guys that live upstairs from me, my neighbors, are also both in Jiu Jitsu at my same gym.
Cool.
Yeah, we discovered it pretty soon after we all moved in, and they initially joined with Muay Thai, and then are now doing both. Yeah. And I think they're even taking on some like smoker fights and stuff.
Sure. Oh wow, no way.
Yeah. So both the roommates upstairs, and one of them was a big dude, high 200s.
Okay.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge. But
maybe 285, 290.
Sure. Yeah.
Big dude, and I think he's now down to like 230.
Whoa.
And he shed this off in 9 months, and he is looking great. And it's kind of funny. Like when I first met him, he's a fat dude.
Yeah.
And now he's just
a dude.
Just a dude.
Yeah. And then in a year, he's gonna be like ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. That was one of the biggest weight loss transformations I've seen.
Since this is Season 1, Episode 1, 011 guest. So when I name my episodes, I'm going to do it architectural style. It'll be like 001.
Underscore 001.
I know, because I'm a nerd. You'll appreciate it. Everyone else will be like, what are you doing?
Why is this
Anyways, should we talk about some, okay, for those of you already rolling, you'll just be able to be like, okay, this is cool. And for those of you who have no idea, you might be like, oh, that's interesting. So let's talk about flow rolling. Let's talk about technique rolling. I don't know if that's a thing. I just made it up, but I think you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah, sure.
Flow rolling, technique rolling, where you kind of roll, and then you're like, how did you do that? And then they'll stop, and they'll be like, oh, like this. And then let's talk about just straight rolling.
Sure.
And then maybe some differences between the different, 100% different rolling with the black belt, then a blue belt, then a white belt, and maybe we could talk a little bit about what that looks like. So let's start with
my limited knowledge. Sure.
Let's talk about flow roll first.
Sure. So actually, our professor explained. They were setting us up. So we had gone through several positions, and they looped in a couple positions from last month, and they said there should be a decent 4 or 5 step flow. And essentially, a flow. What he said was that. You get one, he gets one. You get one, he gets one. You don't hang on to a position. Right. If the person's going for the armbar, let them go for the armbar, and then the person who's about to finish the armbar,
let go.
Let them escape. Yeah. Don't hang on for dear life. Let them practice the escape we went over last week.
And if you're cool, and I know what happened.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove
exactly
that I got it. Okay, you got me. Boom. And then your ego's out the door.
Yeah. So kind of just moving in from one position to the next. This guy gets an advantage position, and then you kind of give it up and let the guy sweep you. Yeah. And then you just go back and forth, and nobody's using too much force.
So that's a flow roll in your eyes.
I think usually that's difficult with white belts, I think. There's only a couple
if they're
guys.
The older guys that are white belts, like me, I think are easier. We get it.
Maybe.
Because we're dads and we understand
you're not trying to kill yourself.
Kind of have to check your ego out the door to become a dad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Becomes about you anymore. And so that way, I think that concept of I don't need to win. Because you're not going to win a fight with a fucking toddler. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you have to you get that little muscle of okay, we got this, boom, boom, boom. And so some of the older dudes I found really easy to flow roll with, and some of the younger dudes a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because they're trying
they want to win.
They want to win.
Yeah, I can see that. Because there's only a few people I've had what I would call successful flow rolls.
Oh, okay.
And there's a couple guys, and actually one of them is the guy upstairs. He's about the same size as me.
Okay.
And he trains a lot, 6 days a week.
So he's in it.
He's in it. He's also a white belt. They actually do a little bit of a different system. They do blue stripes on white belts. Have you seen this before?
We do black stripes on white belts.
So it's a blue linear stripe along the length of the belt.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't have one of those.
Sure.
I probably won't because I have 3 stripes from my previous gym.
Okay.
But
and they let you those carried over?
Yeah, they didn't make me take them off.
Cool.
With that
said, because sometimes you have to check it at the door, and then you tell them, and then they go, "Yeah, you actually are that." That's what I've heard. I don't. Really
they could have done
know.
that. They didn't. They didn't say anything to me. Yeah. With that said, I mean, nobody's giving. Anyway. Gone either direction. So yeah, finding people to that are willing to do that, you almost have to kind of talk about it first too.
What do you mean?
Like say, hey, do you want to kind of flow roll here?
Yes. Yeah. Unless, like at my gym, there's some people that I've rolled with so much.
Yeah.
That you could just barely even mention. They're like, "What do you want to do?" And you're like, "Flow." And you're like, "Okay, cool."
You can even communicate non-verbally about that too.
We should talk about after we finish these typologies. Let's talk about nonverbal communication.
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, we got flow roll.
So yeah, and you know when I'm in a good place rolling with somebody, there's certain positions that it's easy to kind of stall on. You feel like maybe you're going to finish it, but then
like what? What's a good one?
For me, like a guillotine from guard.
Okay.
Or even more so, maybe a guillotine from half guard if you're not in like a great position to get like your elbow and stuff, or to create that distance. Guillotines are a good one for me. Where I can't really finish you, but I can hold you here for 3 minutes.
Oh, right. And that's some
and
people...
I just burn my arms out.
But
you're
also,
annoyed.
But also people think it's like a punk move, kind of. Not a punk move, but like you're not progressing, I'm not progressing.
No one's
You're just
doing
proving
anything.
you could hold me. In that sense, who should let...
I usually try to let it go, depending on who I'm rolling with, though. If some guy's
trying to
fighting,
survive,
if some guy's fighting like a demon to get out,
sure.
and you know, if I'm trying to survive, I'm gonna hang on to that.
Yeah. That's
and then
fair.
maybe even try and like, you know, if there's some sweep I can get from here, from this, or you know, maybe I can move into a different attack. But like if it's with a friend and they're clearly testing how to get out, they're not like a wet cat, and they're like, okay, maybe I put my elbow here, I can start pushing here. And if I'm, you know, feeling a lot of pressure on the position, I'm not gonna like double down and hold it hard. I'll just kind of let it go and then fall into something else. And also having some fun playing.
Playing's fun.
So like there was a guy, I had him in an armbar from a guard position, and it was going fine, but then I just saw the opportunity to just move it into a triangle. I know those are like cousin positions, and so I saw the opportunity to do that, and I moved it to a triangle, and then the triangle fell apart, and he was able to smash me. But totally worth it.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter. You know, I could have finished that armbar, but fuck it, move it to a triangle. Who cares?
Are you ever?
And then I lost the position, and you know, if it was for points, I would have lost. But
are you ever in disbelief when you get a tap?
Sometimes, yeah.
Right.
Well, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, I'm pretty damn sure I didn't submit you.
Oh, right.
I think this guy just got out of breath or something.
Okay, yeah. I think I got like one genuine tap, and I was like, wait. It was like my crippling like insecurity is like, did he give it to me? Did I earn it? Did I? You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, and then like that's kind of a head trip, too. But
getting your first tap. That's the thing. You're like, oh my god! Oh my god!
Okay, so we're talking about flow roll. So should I answer to the technical one since I kind of made up a term?
Sure.
Maybe in the comments people will be like, well, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. But I'll just explain what my reality is and what I think it is. And so what I like for me, like I get the flow roll. I think there's also like I think my coach calls it like catch and release catch, release.
Yeah,
And
that's a good way to describe it too.
And then the technical ones, like, all right, ready? Like, let's go. And then we, like, kind of get in. And then let's say you're more advanced than I am, right? And you're just kind of having your way. And then you, like, I don't know, you get, like, something rad that I haven't seen before or something. Like, let's just, for ease of conversation, you just, like, totally set me up for an armbar. And I'm like, how did you do that? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'll show you. Right? So you stop the actual roll.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, this, and that. And like it's an agreement where both people are cool. Like, hey, we don't need to be rolling right now. Let's just take this opportunity.
Let's go through this position.
Yeah. And then you do that. And then you go and you like roll a little bit more. And like, if you're advanced and you're teaching me, probably I'm not going to be able to, in that same roll, get it on you.
Sure.
So then it'll be like, we'll keep rolling. And then you'll hit something else.
But you get to understand the mechanics of what just happened to you.
Yeah.
So like a lot of positions you can't see what's going on.
Yeah.
If the person's behind you, you can't really see if there's some cool detail. Mm-hmm. Like this brown belt put me in a reverse triangle today, and
is that a triangle from behind?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a triangle from behind, and I didn't see what he did. I was like, was I just in a triangle?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even sure what you were just doing. You're behind me.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was a triangle.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, it was a really cool transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, the roll stopped and we just chat for 30 seconds.
And it's like, cool. And I've never had like the instructor or instructors be like, you guys should be rolling. No. They're like, no, like you guys are doing your thing. Like go for it. Maybe if you were going to be in a competition, but I don't see a scenario where they'd be like, you shouldn't be doing that. It's actually encouraged, right?
Yeah,
like
I think.
Dialogue. Okay, so there's the flow roll. Do you need to check your phone?
No.
Okay, so there's a flow roll. My invented technical. What did I call it? Technical.
Maybe like a student and teacher roll or something.
Yeah. So there's that, and then, what's just like, let's go. What is that?
Some guys. I notice some guys, they just bring it all.
They just bring it all. That's like their nature. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Like extra testosterone.
I don't like rolling with them. I can think of like 3 or 4 guys in particular that even if they're a lot bigger than me, they don't give a shit. They're coming in 8 cylinders banging.
Oh.
And like just going super hard.
What's the etiquette? Can you ask not to roll?
Yeah, sure. Or I can just not roll with them again. Usually what I'll do is weather the storm.
Yeah, but how do you get out of it? Do you know what I mean? If they're like, yo, you two, or how does your school? What's a real
I don't know.
Like?
I mean, my really good rolls have been kind of this catch and release thing with other people. I've had there's been a couple people I know. I've rolled one guy I know. He's quite a bit bigger than me. He's a blue belt, and he just comes in to smash.
Okay.
And I basically just weathered the storm. I kind of wondered if he didn't submit me during the whole 6 minutes. I was kind of wondering if it wasn't pissing him off.
Oh.
And he was getting like.
Well, if that's your personality, that could seem like something like that would piss you off, right?
Maybe. But he was like not nice about it.
Oh.
And he was going for like these. I remember once he was going for an Americana. And it's like he didn't have the position right, but he was just cranking and pushing it as hard as he could. But he didn't have the position right, so I wasn't going to need to tap from it. And he was just...
Are you worried about getting hurt?
No.
You didn't feel like if...
No, I didn't feel that threatened, but like...
But like he wanted it.
But he was like going for like hard knee cuts from open guard, like just coming in real hard. Whereas I personally like rolls where... I don't even like starting on our feet that much.
I don't like starting at feet. I'm gonna have to because you have to know how. But
eventually,
I'd much rather just. Anyway, go on.
But that sets a different pace for the whole thing. If somebody's about to throw you on the ground.
Absolutely.
But I like much more like let's just kind of start. I'll grab your wrist. Maybe you swim out of it. And maybe set the pace on those first little hand exchanges.
Yeah.
I think that's when you can kind of tell what kind of roll it's going to be.
I think so too. Yeah. And now, like, because I'm learning about like foot locks and different things, like if your feet are coming inside my feet, like I know what you're going for, and so like that also kind of dictates like what kind of a roll
it's
going to be.
Yeah, we at our gym, speaking of like leg and knee stuff, they always say if you're gonna do that, have the conversation with your partner first.
Yes. Yeah.
And I actually wear a knee brace on one knee.
Okay.
Just as like a nonverbal way of saying like, hey,
hands off.
This knee.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Please no knee bars.
Can I put two knee braces, 2 elbow, 2 wrists, 1 hand?
One around my neck.
Dude, I can't even touch you. They're like, I think maybe this isn't the right sport for you. Dude.
Have you tried yoga?
Yeah. Okay, so I think maybe, and I bet my answer is going to change as I progress or as I learn. But as of now, I think real rolling or rolling is just kind of like each opponent is trying to get a submission and the other one's not letting them do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about as simple as that.
Yeah, sure. I guess that's exactly what rolling is.
Yeah. It's just like that's the objective, right?
Yeah.
And it's more complex than that, but it's also not.
I look forward to a day when my technique is good enough to where, nobody's really relying on brute strength.
Yeah, sure. That's everybody's
Because you
goal,
see
right?
2 black belts going, and it can get heated and get moving quick. But like that example I was using of like Kimuras and Americanas can be very much like a muscle thing.
Yeah.
And it's like if they're just going for it, you don't see black belts doing that.
No, because it's like they all know what to do out of it.
It's like if they don't have it, they're not going to keep trying for it. And they know 5 other things to move from
there's so
there.
many ways, there's so many counters to it that they're not even going to go for it because they already know that you know all the counters.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm assuming that's what.
Well, imagine if you only have one weapon in your whole arsenal.
Me? That's me right now.
I will die before I give this up.
Yeah. Actually, I did stick something that was pretty cool. I don't even know if it's a good thing. I want to talk to my professor after. But I got a Kimura from behind the head. Like, so I was on top, right? And I was able to get my hand behind his neck.
Oh, yeah.
And then do a Kimura from there.
So you had the wrist from behind their head.
Yeah.
And then you were able to pull the elbow down far enough? Because usually they want the elbow like here, right? Like
yeah. Whatever it was. I made him tap. And
Nice.
That's kind of cool. But I know that there's sometimes you do things that you think they're cool, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes you just get lucky. And it's that's not really a thing, but they tapped.
Yeah. And I guess when we talk about different types of roles, then I think under the same pretense that would pretense be the right word? But the same objective is both want to tap and both want to get the submission.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one want to give up the submission. And then I think it's just levels of intensity.
Yeah.
Right? Because you and I can roll, and it's not a flow roll, it's not a technical roll. We're both going for the same thing, but we have this understanding of like, this is the level we're going to go at.
Yeah.
Right? And then I would imagine maybe that then there's rolls where it's like, fuck you, let's go. And we're both cool with it. And we're just going to go.
You see that in the gym sometimes.
Quick.
There's a few guys that you can tell that's what they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And if everybody's down, that's a lot. People will kind of clear out and give them a little bit of space on the mat.
Right. They're going
for it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're starting from a stand-up position.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
Like people just back up a little bit.
Yeah. I don't like that. I'm not there. I don't
want
to be there.
People are training for a competition, or if people are just trying to have fun, go for it.
Yeah, maybe that's fun.
Maybe that's fun for them.
Maybe one day that'll be fun for me, but right now, not so much. Because I have a lot of head trips that I need to get over. The first
my biggest fear. I know how to break fall. Of course, you know how to break fall, but one of my biggest fears is accidentally spraining my wrist.
Yeah.
Like if I get thrown and I post funny.
Yeah.
Like. I know you're supposed to break fall, but posting funny happens all the time.
Well, put it this way: learning how to break fall is not natural. You have to learn how to break fall, right? Nobody just automatically like when they fall, like go and then
nobody knows that,
right? I think we're even designed in a way genetically or whatever to like, if you fall, go ahead, sacrifice the arm.
I think so, to save the face.
To save the face, the head, right? Yeah. So you could like, whatever. But like the rolling and all that stuff, it's not natural. So
no, there's a lot of things that are counterintuitive.
And that's why I think the drillers or killers are cool, because maybe we could add to it like drillers or survivors, right? Like if you continually practice awesome rolls and awesome break falls, which we do at Gracie Baja, which is cool, it's going to protect you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like all these, like, if you walked into a gym for the first time and you saw a bunch of grown men doing cartwheels, or not cartwheels, but somersaults, like rolling over your head.
I cannot do that. What's it? I call it the Calamari Roll, because it sounds like calamari.
An Imanari roll?
Imanari roll. But I say calamari because that's how I can remember it. But yeah, I can't do that, dude. I get stuck.
Oh yeah, and like going over the back of your neck. Well, we do this in warm-ups.
Your shoulders, right?
You go over. You go over your shoulders.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't do that either. I can't invert. But we go over.
It's cool when you see people that can.
Yeah. And they're equally as good attacking from upside down. It's just three-dimensional geometries at that point. But like we go over. We're doing somersaults in warm-ups, and you see a bunch of grown men doing somersaults, and it seems a little on the silly side.
Yeah.
But the reality is like that's a legitimate thing that could happen, and you have to know how to do it. Because if you go over your face and your head and you go aligned,
that's bad.
You're gonna hurt your neck.
Yeah.
Especially when you're rolling backwards.
Yeah.
Because we'll do reverse somersaults, like backwards somersaults, and you have to go over the side of your head or like over your shoulder.
And that's not natural either.
No. Like, I see guys sometimes, if they're kind of new, going straight over the back of their neck.
Yeah. And does somebody stop them? Like, hey man, like.
That's something I don't do at the gym. Is like I am not anybody's coach.
Oh right, and there's a lot of.
I don't want to be one of those douchey white belts who's like, I think you said more like this. Like I get those people, and I'm like,
yeah.
Don't say shit. Like, even if you're right, don't try and take the coach's job here. Unless you're up above that other person.
Yeah, there's like a fine line to it. Like you don't. I know exactly what you're saying. And I naturally have a predisposition to be a little bit of a know-it-all, right? And so like in jiu-jitsu, I have to be really careful because my instinct is to kind of like, I just learned this, so I know this now, and I'm going to share it with you.
I'm going to tell you why
exactly,
you're wrong.
right? So I have to be really, really careful with that. So I'm actually really paranoid because I don't want to bring any of that energy that I kind of naturally have into the jiu-jitsu gym. One, because I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Two, it's annoying. I don't want to be the annoying guy.
And you could set somebody else going the wrong way.
Exactly.
You could ruin somebody's technique.
But on the same hand, it doesn't mean that you can't like say a little something, right?
If somebody's just doing it wrong.
Yeah, and you know, like, hey, this is.
So here's my method for communicating.
Okay, can I give you an example?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's a perfect example of when it's right to step in. So a totally new guy came in, like day one. And I forgot, I think he was scooting on the mat, practicing like going down the line. Maybe he was shrimping or something like that. And he was supposed to, whatever he was doing, I forgot what it was. He was supposed to have a gable grip. And he was doing this.
Oh, sure.
Okay? And then the guy that was showing him was really cool and like helping him out. And I wasn't even part of that group showing him. But I looked over and I saw his hands like this. And I didn't correct the guy that was doing it, but I looked at my buddy and I went like this. And then he looked and he's like, oh shit, I didn't even catch that. And then he's like, hey buddy, let me show you what a gable grip was. Right? Because let's get that out, like, so for those of you who don't know, go ahead, squeeze my hand.
This is gonna hurt.
Yeah. Ow.
Yeah.
It really fucking hurts.
Yeah.
Like even that like hurts because your hands are like this.
You're stacking your knuckles
up. So
up.
you want to go like this, you want to go like this, and it was like the wrestler Dan Gable.
Yeah, I think Dan Gable.
Dan Gable, right? That's
like a famous wrestler.
So that's where I feel like it's almost an obligation. Because if you saw that and didn't say anything, you're kind of being a dick too, right?
Here's my method. Go. So I've thought of a way to kind of address this as being the novice, but knowing somebody's doing something incorrectly is, okay, just using the armbar again as an example. If they're doing an armbar on you and they don't have a hold of your thumb, or they're not pointing your wrist in the right direction.
like here, right?
So you want to have the wrestler thumb grip, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm armbarring you, I need to keep your elbow through your wrist to keep your elbow in the correct position.
Right.
Otherwise, you can just turn your arm and now you're not armbarring anymore. So if we're going over this, if we're doing armbar drills and the person's not controlling my elbow, well, I'm just going to let my arm do this. And then they're like, it's not working.
Yeah,
like, why aren't you tapping? Well, control the elbow here.
Yeah.
Or
do a Fonzie.
Or here's one today.
Yeah.
We're doing these judo throws, and my partner, he wasn't off balance. You're supposed to get somebody off balance and just their weight on one leg.
The whole throw, once you're right, it just goes right.
Yeah. So like, but you've got to get their feet to move in the way you want them, their balance to be. Yeah. And he wasn't quite getting it. And I am trying to give him the position, like as they say, like give him the look. So I'll kind of step into it a little bit, but if I'm not really there, and then he hits my leg and it's strong, I'll be like, I'll let you know when I'm off balance. Like tug around a little bit more. And when I feel that off balanceness, I'll let you know and then go for the sweep.
Right.
So like he can experience that success. But if I have a little bit of hesitation and like, I'm not going to resist him. I'm not going to like fight back.
Sure.
But if he's doing it wrong, I'm not going to like fake fall on the ground.
Oh, right. What's that? There's a whole channel that exposes like those gyms. McDojo. Yeah, you don't want a McDojo either.
I don't want to be the McDojo victim
exactly.
where he's trying. If he's going to try an armbar on me, I'm not going to go, oh, tap. He really got me there when he's not even doing it right.
It's not going to help anybody.
It's not going to help anybody.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what I'll do. Is I'll just like let them fail at the attack.
That's fair.
And then be like,
that's I think what you're supposed to do, right? And then they have to reposition to.
And I don't. And I'll many times be like, let's pull coach over here.
Yeah.
Let's. You know what?
Actually, I saw somewhere online. I wish I could accredit who I saw it, but they were like they're talking a lot about white belt etiquette.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you're ever uncertain, just ask the coach.
Yeah, because that's the professor.
Like, that's the easiest. Yeah.
And they're always happy to answer specific questions. That's what they're there for. So that's one of the other things I'll do if somebody's having trouble, like if they're clearly having trouble, even if I kind of know what I'm doing, many times if they don't know, I'm not good enough to tell you what to do. So I'll be like, I don't know, this is kind of how I'm doing it, this is what I understand, but let's grab Professor when he's over here.
Yeah, and I won't do any movement with anybody that hasn't trained before. Like, so if somebody's really curious and they're like, hey, show me something, I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I don't know. But if like right now, like let's say if there was some mats here and you're like, hey, Mike, I heard you talk about this. Can you show me? I'd be like, sure. Because I know you've rolled and I know you know the etiquette and all stuff like that.
You're not going to elbow me in the nose.
And it's just like, there's like a certain... I'm not going to open myself up to either you or me getting hurt on accident because we don't know what we're doing.
Dude, on 4th of July, there's this guy at a party who, he's an acquaintance. I've met him maybe 3 or 4 times, but he used to train MMA, and he was a Muay Thai instructor.
Okay.
And he trained in a Muay Thai gym. I don't know how much Jiu Jitsu specific he was, I think, but he did some. He kind of knew what he was doing. We're at this 4th of July party, everybody's had a few drinks, and he's like grabbing me, wanting to roll in the yard.
Oh man, it's the
and
worst, dude.
He did this a couple times, and finally I was like, all right, let's go.
Let's go, yeah.
And I submitted him twice pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I did it with not so nice chokes too. Yeah. I did a Nogi Ezekiel on him.
Like a baseball type?
Yeah, like it was like a baseball bat choke. Yeah. But
I just learned Ezekiel. That's why I was so excited because
it was an Ezekiel where I just grabbed my wrist.
What's the difference between a baseball and Ezekiel?
I think they're pretty similar. Yeah. I don't know a baseball bat choke. I mean, a baseball bat choke is like this, I guess.
I think so, yeah, because it's like...
But in Ezekiel, it's better in a gi, but you grab the back of your You grab your own
I think
gi,
that's what it is.
and then you just turn it like this.
Oh, never
and
mind.
you just shove your blade of your hand.
Both of them.
Yeah, just.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not so nice.
It's not.
And anyways, I did one of these on him.
Yeah.
And he was like turning purple and like.
He wouldn't tap.
But he wouldn't tap. And so the first time I got him, I put him in just a simple head and arm triangle from a mount. So I just kind of let him fall into my close guard, very easily swept him, and then just a head and arm triangle, choked him out. And then he tapped on that one because it's clearly you're going to go unconscious. And then I went for like a little bit of a nastier one, and he wasn't tapping. And he's like gurgling and shit. And finally, and people at this party are like, "Oh my God, what are you guys doing?" And then finally, I was like, "I tap. We're done."
Yeah, that's kind of a boss move, dude.
I was like, "We're done."
Yeah.
It was like, somebody's gonna get hurt. You're being really aggressive here.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to go.
Yeah.
It was like he wanted to go harder than people in the gym want to go with me.
Right. See, my fear with that is that I'm sober. Right? And when you're sober, I mean, I guess everyone, well, not everybody's sober, but probably most people at one point have been the designated driver or have been in a situation where they're sober and everyone else is drunk and it's not fun.
Yeah. Everybody's making stupid choices.
Yeah. And like when you're sober, it's like really annoying. Like if I was at the party, I would probably have to leave because I would be so upset that the dude can't chill. Right. And then because I wasn't drunk and my inhibitions weren't lowered, or not drunk, but even just buzzed, and I wasn't like as relaxed, I would have been really tense and as more of like a survival situation, like, fuck, this dude's being a drunk asshole, right? And I don't want to deal with this, and you're kind of ruining my night, and now I gotta bounce.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I've been in that situation a lot because I've been sober for a long time, and so I've seen that, and like, there's no really, I don't know, maybe in the comments somebody could leave if there's an eloquent way of getting out of that without them losing face and you like diffusing it, right? Because when they're buzzed, you know, you could say like, how do you like get them to just, hey, chill out? Because that never works. Yo, chill out. Like, and everyone's like, oh, no. Okay, now I'm going to chill out because I get it. But, so I don't know.
Yeah, but you can like also insult people when they think they're having fun.
Yeah.
And you look like an asshole now.
Yes.
You're like, hey, chill out, little buddy.
Yeah. So,
like, now you kind of look like a dick when they look like they're just trying to have some fun and joke around. But then, clearly at some point, like, we're doing this and other people are looking around like, is Tyler going to kill him?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I hope I'm never in that situation. I have been a lot.
That was the only time that's happened to me outside of a gym.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. I like him. But it was kind of an uncomfortable position because I would not put myself there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure. You know, upper level belts. Like if you've been a black belt for numerous years, you'd for sure have people try and front, like just trying people step up.
Yeah.
But I'll bet at that point you're like, you don't want any of this smoke.
Yeah. You don't want, like, you know what I mean. At that point, probably most of them just gonna be like, they don't have nothing to prove. They've had fucking gym wars that are way crazier than what you could ever bring, right?
I actually, I was just thinking about this. I've heard Joe Rogan mention multiple times that he's had people at like bars, and I guess when he's out in public, like, hey, will you put me in a rear naked choke for a picture? Like, no. He's like, no, I won't do that.
Well, yeah, there's a liability. Actually, did you know that people were getting sued
for?
So like they would take a picture of like, let's say, like John Jones or something like that, and then they would sue them.
Put me in a choke, man.
You hurt my neck, and now here's proof. And like, so all of their agents were like, you guys, I know it's fun and it's cool and it's a cool way to bond with your fans, or whatever, but don't.
People are
don't
such
do
pussies.
Yeah, people are. Yeah, it's stupid.
God, that's so annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Because I mean, what a fun picture if you got a picture of Damian Maya putting you in a rear naked choke. Like, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I think not David, but I know that Joe Rogan has a bodyguard now, and not that he needs it, right? Because he could handle probably 90% of all people unless they're.
I would say he can handle 99.9% of people on the planet.
Well, anyone untrained for sure.
For sure.
Right, and then the elite of people who are trained. But I'm pretty sure his bodyguard is just the liability and the buffer.
Yeah.
And just like, this guy is just going to probably be some big dude who's just going to be like, relax.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want... And just buff for him so he could just not... Because he can't be the one who says that. Right?
Yeah. In his position, you can't give them any attention at all.
You can't give him any attention at all.
Right? So I can't imagine how annoying it is to be him these days.
And he's like really famous now.
He's super famous, and he's also super famous with with the UFC fan crowd,
which are fucking...
They're animals.
Some of them are really big douchebags, and I love UFC, and I'm a UFC fan, but there's some that are,
They still wear Affliction shirts.
Yeah. So, all right, back to Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot. I'm wondering how we wrap up this conversation.
Gi no gi.
Love both.
Love both.
Should I start?
Sure, go ahead.
I love both. I think I absolutely love both. And I'll tell you why. One, our school really makes it a point to do no gi.
Okay.
So there's no gi Tuesdays, no gi Thursdays. Mm-hmm. And then the rest is gi. On Fridays, it's open mat. Mm-hmm. And open mat always ends up being no gi.
Yeah, it's true.
Like I haven't seen, maybe other schools are different, but I feel like at open mat, and if you could do whatever you want, it's okay. So I do both, and I love both because I think I'm cerebral, and I think that there's a cognitive game to both of them that you need to understand. What motivates me about gi is, for some reason, I'm scared of New York, even though I grew up pretty crazy in LA.
Okay.
I just always think there's going to be some Jersey Shore type dude that's aggressive and is wearing Timberlands and a big Carhartt jacket or something. Mm-hmm. And I have no...
If it's in New York, it's probably a blazer.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Some finance douche who's had too many gin and tonics.
So I have this irrational fear, which I'm never in New York. Maybe I will because of this podcast. Maybe I'll travel. This is not an invitation for that dude to fucking step up to me. But I have this irrational fear of some dude with a heavy coat, we get in a situation and fucking a good... knowing that and what you could do and putting weight on and all that shit that we practice and the base, it's really effective.
Well, you could do a cross collar choke standing up right in front of somebody.
Yeah. Oh, these?
Yeah, just If you just did it as a 101
you can even
jiu-jitsu.
be like, hey man, it's cool, I don't want any, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could lure. So for that, I like, and I also like that there's little cool things that you could do, and it's kind of fun. I really genuinely like it. I don't like that you get so hot in them. Uh-huh. And then I saw this old school Gracie guy talk about the jiu-jitsu builds character because it's so hot, and then I felt like a pussy because I was like, there's a whole reason why I didn't like it.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
But it is hot.
It is hot. It does.
You should see it in the class
counts. And our gis are heavier, right? Jiu-jitsu gis are heavy.
Yeah.
Because there's so much strain.
They're very heavy. My gi right here is a summer gi.
Yeah.
It's thin.
Okay.
But it's still so hot when they're wet.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why I like the gi, because I have an irrational fear of some douchebag from New York or Jersey.
Why do you? It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a weird guy. And also, I do like that there's all these little cool things that you could learn, and you could bring people down.
Uh-huh.
And then the no gi, I really like because I feel like if you're good at no-gi, you'll be okay in a lot of different situations. And I like that you can't rely on anything to hold, and I like that the grips are different. You know what I mean? Or like UC or monkey. What is it? I think I don't know if it's the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
people call monkey grip.
Yeah, monkey, like all those types of things I think are really fun and cool. Can I share with you this really fucked up situation that happened to me?
Yeah.
This really pissed me off, and I've talked about this with nobody.
Oh, no.
This really, really upset me.
Something at the gym?
No.
Okay.
So a couple years ago. Okay, so I grew up here in LA. You know, like I've seen fucking everything. Hardcore gangbangers, violence, like crazy shit. You know, like I've just seen it fucking all. Like, and there's a certain level of like, I made it through all of that. That like, I'm not like a veterano, but like in a sense of like, that's like a Hispanic term to say you're a veteran of LA, you've made it through and you're still alive and you're cool.
Veteran of the streets.
Right. But I'm not saying that, but in a certain aspect, there's a little bit of that. Like fucking, yeah, like I've survived and I made it and I'm good and I'm successful, right? So in some way, I see myself that way. So to preface my story by saying that, right? And in no way am I saying fucking I'm hardcore or anything like that. I've just seen a lot of shit. And so I was at the beach with my family, and at Santa Monica, there's like this group of cholos that will come up with like these beautiful cars. Like they're all Chevys, and it's all group. And fucking, I grew up with Chevys and like the lowrider culture, right?
Yeah.
And I was walking, I think, to go put more money in the meter. And I literally had like just quarters or my debit card, my board shorts because I just got out of the water, no shirt on, no socks, no shoes, like literally like on a jiu-jitsu mat, but just shorts.
Sure.
And basically I'm naked. Just shorts.
Yeah.
And a debit card or quarters, whatever I had for the meter. Right? And I walked by them, right? And I've grown up with cholos my whole life. Some of them are my best friends. Fucking love them. And one dude, and I was really out of shape at that time, right? And I have a lot of tattoos, so that always opens up like some kind of like image, right? And this little dude was like, look at this motherfucker, right?
Really?
And I was like, fuck, right? And then he's like, you know, fuck this dude, like, what are you, like, blah, 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 and just starts talking some mad shit. And he's with all his homies, right?
Yeah.
And I am, like, literally, I was out of shape, like, really out of shape. And I have nothing. I have no shoes, no nothing, just concrete.
So what does he want?
We're at the beach, just being a punk, a little bit of drinks with his homies, you know, like, let's fuck with this white boy type thing,
like,
right?
I'm at the beach with my family, dude.
Yeah, but I took it really hard. Like, I was fucking pissed. One, because I was like, fuck, I'm out of shape. I'm not fucking training. Like, I don't know if I could fucking handle this dude. And even if I could handle this dude.
He's got 30 people behind him.
Yeah, he's got all his boys. And I felt, do you know what punked means? Well, not the Ashton Kutcher one, but.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
He punked you.
Yeah. I felt punked. And I hate that fucking feeling. Right? Like, it's almost better to just go out and fucking get beat up than
go lose
for
a
me
fight.
than that feeling
of
of like being punked. There's one of walking away and checking your ego out the door, and then there's another when you've been like
you got disrespected and you like, walked away with your tail between your legs.
I felt,
I'm not saying you did that. Yeah. You probably. I mean, you were there with your family.
There was
no reason to get stabbed.
That's why I'm so conflicted, because there was a lot going on. There was one that's like, fuck, I'm over this shit. Another goes back to like, hey, fucking, I do feel like there's some level of fucking veterano-ness that I deserve. This is my fucking neighborhood. Yeah. Like, why would you bring that disrespect to me? There's some of that. There's some of like, damn, I let myself go. Because if I was like fit and blah, 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 maybe he wouldn't have said that. Just a whole slew of fucking shit that I did not need that fucking date. And I talked about it with nobody. This is the first time, and this happened like a couple years ago.
Okay. Oh, it stuck with you for real.
Oh, that fucking burned. I did not like that at all. And then I had to like go put money in the meter and then fucking walk past them. I was pissed. Like, I wanted to fucking call some old homeboys that I know that pack and be like, let's get these fools kind of deal. Like, I started getting back into my old, like, younger shit. And then I was just like, what the fuck? And I went back and...
You was bummed out for the rest of the day, probably.
Yeah, no, for weeks.
Yeah.
Like, you ever played chess with me?
No.
Very competitive. I don't like losing. And, like, just that microness, like, if you see that when we... Like, you could be like, if you extrapolate that by fucking everything that I just said, it fucking sucked.
Ugh, I can imagine that.
So long story short, I know that was like fucking a huge diatribe, but in that situation, right? Let's say I've been practicing jiu-jitsu 3 years. You're pretty solid at that point. Like, if I was in my bare feet and just board shorts, there's nothing to rely on. Oh, I know where I was going with. No gi.
Yeah.
Right? Perfect no gi scenario.
Well,
if he would have sweated me and attacked me, that's a no. I have nothing.
Have you ever seen the old videos of the Gracies on the beach?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they used to play fight. The little Valley Tudo fights.
Yeah,
they were on the beach.
Yeah.
They were in board shorts.
Yeah. And so that's where it was like a real life scenario for me where it was like, that's applicable. Like, I would have to not rely on anything other than just shorts and whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think for most street fights, a gi is really more applicable because most people have clothes on.
Yeah.
Especially if they have clothes on and you don't.
Well, unless you're like in like the white trash scenario where as soon as they start fighting, they take off their shirt, right? Like, that's the number one.
All I've been training is gi.
Like on cops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's go, and then you take your shirt off.
What if you ended up with that situation? Somebody rips their shirt off and then they go, "No gi, bro."
Oh shit.
You'd be like, "Oh no, you trained?"
Yeah. Look at their ears first.
Yeah.
See what kind of indicator you have, but probably people at that point aren't going to be doing stupid shit.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
So, there's reasons for both. I personally like them both pretty well. I think I'll continue training both.
Yeah.
I like no-gi right now because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's a little bit shitty, but like it makes escapes way easier.
Oh, that's okay to say.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if I need to rotate my hips or something.
Yeah.
A lot of times in a gi, there's so much friction.
So much. Things get caught up.
Yeah.
It gets twisted and it gets...
It's much easier to adjust like your triangles or something. Like, when you get the loose triangle, like just the top lock, you need to kind of like adjust it.
Yeah.
Well, if my pant leg is on the back of your neck and your gi, and we're both really wet, like you're struggling, you don't want to be here, and I'm trying to get my leg over further.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough.
Also with gi versus no gi, like, you do have a shirt on, but if I'm gonna try to do something serious, it's probably gonna rip.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna work.
Or stretch.
Yeah.
It's actually
probably gonna rip.
A lot harder to rip a shirt than you think, unless there's like a little thing in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm just super weak. But anyway, it's either gonna rip or stretch, and then that whole thing is invalid. But maybe you're Jackie Chan and you like twist it around, wrap it around your neck or something like that or whatever.
But if somebody's wearing a jacket,
exactly,
like a suit jacket,
yeah,
like they're wearing everything you need.
Yeah. And you know what? This is gonna sound weird, but I've actually been a little bit uncomfortable wearing my hoodies lately.
You're like, I'm wearing a weapon around my neck.
I know. Well, I'm wearing
my own demise.
Yes. Yeah, like literally, a hoodie is a stupid fucking thing to wear if you're thinking about, just that. That's a lot. And hoodies are typically like thick.
They're dense. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't want to give up my hoodies though. Maybe I need like a quick release hood, a Velcro. Yeah. But or like the chances of me getting in any kind of altercation is slim. But I did pause and think about it for a second.
Man, I hope I'm never in a scenario where like, oh God, I have such a personal nightmare of one day out with a couple
Is it worse
than
my Jersey guy?
Kinda, but only like if somebody around me goes, he knows jujitsu, and I'd be like, oh no. Like if you're at a bar and somebody's talking shit, and one of your friends like basically throws you under the bus.
Yeah, fuck. It doesn't mean I'm a fucking super. I mean, yeah, I know.
I'm a recreational jujitsu player.
Yeah. I go on Sundays, or also, that's actually a really valid scenario. Like that could
totally happen.
And people would be like, or here's even worse, is you could be with somebody and they'll be instigating and talking shit and then expect you to come save them, right? And
I was actually in a scenario with it like
not
this.
Cool. What happened?
Actually, they're all Serbian guys.
Oh, really?
So this is in Shanghai numerous years ago. We're at this kind of upscale bar.
Yeah. I'm Serbian, by the way. That's why he emphasized that.
Now that I tell this story, I think I just told this story like the next day.
Yeah.
Or like Monday at work or something. My friends. I don't think
Is
I was there.
this for the Serbian project that we were on?
No.
Or this is something different?
This is different. This is when I lived in Shanghai.
Oh, okay.
One of my good friends is Serbian, and they rolled deep. There was like 8 of them all the time.
They're crazy too, right?
They roll in packs.
Did you ever go drinking with them?
Oh, many times.
That's a fucking event, right?
Rakia.
Yeah, Rakia. Yeah, you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Slivovica? It's the same thing. Slivovica, Rakia, same thing.
So I just tried, they had like some homemade Rakias.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this one guy, he's my friend.
Yeah.
He's huge dude. 6'5", 6'6", and was like an amateur Muay Thai fighter. And before that he was played on like Serbian national team basketball.
Sure. Yeah.
He's an athlete.
Yeah.
And he was jacked and super athletic. And he was with a bunch of buddies visiting from Serbia. And they basically do this, where they instigate a fight, and then like, my friend will fuck you up.
Yeah.
And then Milos basically, the way he told the story.
Was his name Milos?
Milos.
Yeah, nice. That's a very Serbian name.
Yeah. I think the way he told the story is basically he gets himself another drink, leans against the bar, and goes, "No, you're fucked."
Yeah, you're fucked.
Bye. Have fun in your fight.
There's a saying in Serbia where you could say, "Moj kurac boli," and that means like my dick hurts. But let's say so Serbia's crazy because all they're saying
is so lewd.
It's so lewd, and what it means. Okay, so he could have been at the bar, and in that situation, he probably even did say it, where like they're like, okay, no, now Milos, right? And he's like, he could have been at the bar, order a drink, and be moj kurac boli, which means my dick hurts, which means I fucked so much tonight that my dick hurts, and I don't want to do anything.
I got it. Yeah, an interrupting phone call. I should have muted it.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up anyway.
Yeah. Hey, hon. No, I didn't. We are recording a podcast. Once you come home, and then we'll pick a restaurant and go out. See you soon. Big apologies for that.
No worries. That to go out in editing. So, all right, we should wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts?
No. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to talk about jiu-jitsu with people. Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, like you can shove people in a corner and talk their ear off about it. But having an open dialogue. I mean, I think we just talked for a couple hours.
We did.
Yeah.
So this, Tyler Johnson, season 1, episode 1.
Thanks, my dude.
White Belt Diaries. My name is Michael Todoran. What's up? I hope you guys follow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Peace.
Later.